Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Debra Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
In just a minute, our Morning Light panel will go behind the headlines.
But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. VivaKids exists to provide hope for tomorrow in the developing world by showing the love of Jesus to their children and their communities. We will meet the executive director, plus learn how you can put your faith into action by going to the Dominican Republic.
These are great people. It's going to be a good conversation. Well, we're continuing the conversation in the aftermath of the arrest of Luigi Mangione in Altoona. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro said the suspected killer of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is no hero. But in recent hours, the website Yelp, which invites users to grade businesses, has been flooded with negative reviews from, get this, fans of the shooting suspect. One reads, "The fries were cold, the burger was raw, the soda was flat, and the employees are snitches." So why is moral clarity so very difficult for many to find with this particular case, and it seems like many others, Deborah?
Yeah, it really is amazing, the outpouring of support that he is receiving, even people offering to pay legal fees.
And people are putting their names on these posts as well.
It is amazing. Well, as college students come home for Christmas break, fewer families believe a four-year degree is worth it, citing rising tuition and debt. But according to Pew Research, 1 in only 4 adults say it's important to get a college degree to get a well-paying job. So why do so many parents still steer students towards college?
Well, maybe. I think part of college is just the experience of getting out of the house. Maybe that's what we're all about. Get out of the house, right?
Well, maturing, growing up, and developing
Doing
into
your own
adults.
laundry,
Right.
Well, we all know the way the biblical narrative records the way baby names were often announced before birth. Names like Isaac and Solomon and Josiah and John, and even Jesus comes to mind. So with the popularity of gender reveal parties, could announcing a baby name before birth be a way of providing dignity and value to preborn life? One Canadian study suggests, get this, 64% share the baby's name before birth. Are you in that camp? We'll take these big questions to the Morning Light panel this morning. We're honored to have two Joes on the panel today, Pastor Joe Green and Joe Slack, and in the middle, Amber Benzon. This is not indicative of your political views or anything else here. I brought us back to this story this morning because a lot of people are asking questions about it, and every minute it's such a sensational story. This morning, in Hollidaysburg, there are trucks, news trucks. Think about this. Little Hollidaysburg in Blair County, Pennsylvania, has news trucks on every inch of it. It looks like New York City. That's what little Pennsylvania communities are seeing and facing this morning. But the larger question, I think, is why there seems to be a growing fan base for the young accused. There's an old Marxist term, I guess, Joe, called social banditry, and it's almost a Robin Hood idea. So maybe these are the pitchforkers rallying to the Robin Hood. What's going on, Joe? What do you think? And from a spiritual perspective, in the human heart, why are we drawn to this?
Well, in this day and age, clout is the new currency, and so getting attention, whether it's positive or negative, is a big deal now.
Explain that a little bit for someone who's like 78, saying, "What do you mean by I can't take clout to the 7-Eleven?"
Well, back in the days, people would get famous because they were a great singer or actor or something like that. Nowadays, people get famous for the sake of being famous. And so when you pursue fame, you'll do whatever it takes to get famous. And so now when there's something, even if it's controversial, people will really gravitate towards it. And even if it's contrary to what we believe is the values that we have as a society, it's like, oh, he's a rock star now because he was bold and now he's saying really not sensical stuff, about justice and all that other stuff. But to me, it really goes back to narcissism and self-centeredness.
Interesting.
Because although he did something that was horrible, in his mind, he felt that what he believed was so important, it was even more important than another person's life. And so we have to be careful in this society not to allow clout to be the new currency and give a whole bunch of attention to people for terrible things, because a lot of times that just breeds other people to try to replicate what he did because, hey, I want to be popular too. I want the currency of clout as well, even if it's bad clout.
Other Joe, I see you nodding. What are you thinking?
No, I agree with what you're saying, Joe, and I think it gets even deeper to our need for control, our desire to be in control of something. The world seems so crazy and chaotic and out of control, we want to grab anything we can. So We'll blame anybody, do anything, do whatever we can do to try to maintain a semblance of feeling like we're in control. I don't think it works.
Right.
I don't think we're going to find that anywhere outside of Jesus and the presence of God. But that's what we're longing for so much. And so we can blame somebody for our problems in life rather than seeking comfort from the one who can actually comfort us.
Are these Yelp reviews, is what Joe is saying here, are the Yelp reviews kind of a part of how this all works, that people are trying to exert control now over the restaurant? They flip the heroes. It's not the policeman, it's the person working at the restaurant.
Absolutely, Jeff. I think 2 observations. This is cultural Marxism at its most logical.
What do you mean by that?
Just what you referenced earlier, the Marxism of taking out your frustrations on someone because you think that person has it better than you. And so the desire is to destroy that rather than to uplift yourself and those around you, most importantly. So I do think this is the most logical, extreme conclusion of that. But I also think in America, the nonpartisan attributes of sanity and virtue are reasserting themselves. I think we are seeing an America that is sick and tired of divisiveness, contempt, and this level of bloodlust, whether it is with this situation or Hamas rallies on college campuses. Americans have had enough. And as a mother, I am very much filled with hope for the restoration of sanity and shared values and mutual respect.
And where do you, in a word, where do you find that sanity, that refuge of sanity for you in your family?
Well, we find that in Christ and the comfort that that brings our family, knowing that He is in control, regardless of where our times shift. But I do think that's permeating more broadly.
Let's take just a little time on the idea of college and college debt as our kids come home. My daughter Ann is coming back from Liberty in a few days. Is your family rethinking for your children what the future might look like with or without college and the expense and the price tag that comes? Or is it a price you're willing to pay and you say, hey, this is their ticket to the American dream?
Like most parents, Jeff, we don't want our kids to be left behind. And we look at college as historically providing value, either in preparing kids for a career or giving them with the knowledge and truth of how this world works in pursuit of wisdom. But I think we're finding as a society that a 4-year college degree does not necessarily guarantee either. And so we're looking in this economy, starting a business, freelance gig work, skilled labor don't require a liberal arts degree. So we are looking at it much more closely, and I think our country is as well.
That's very helpful. Just spend 30 seconds on college and what you're telling young men, young women in your congregation about as they come to you say, hey, Pastor, solve my problem. What do I do here? Do I spend the money or not?
Absolutely, and I agree wholeheartedly with Amber that, it traditionally was when you graduate from high school, you go to college. I have daughters, and all my daughters have masters, and then I have a son. When it came time for him to go to when he graduated from high school, he didn't have a clear path of what he wanted to do. And so I gave him some other suggestions. You can work, the vocational technical, plumbing and electricity electricians have been overlooked. And that's a great path too. And if you don't have a clear path, like I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, then 4-year college degree may not be the answer all the time. And in the process, you'll accumulate a whole lot of debt and maybe still not know what direction you want to go in life. And so that shouldn't be the default all the time. Right. Each case should be individual, and you determine what's the best path for that individual.
To me, that number should be higher than 1 in 4 families saying, we're for college here.
And it creates an opportunity for the church, Jeff, because one of the things you get from going to college is that social development, how to become an adult, how to live. And what an opportunity for the church to take people post-youth group, right? They graduate high school, and we tend to wait till they come back as adults, right? Now we have this demographic that we can reach out to, provide mentorship, provide internships, provide opportunities on how to grow them up to become men and women and to develop. It's a great opportunity for the church to meet that age group.
I love that. I love that idea, yeah. So let's take just a few seconds each on the big controversy of the morning, and that is whether or not to announce the baby's name before born. Now, if you're a pro-life activist, as you were thinking through this might be a way to help humanize a baby before they're born. On the other hand, it kind of you know, it ruins the surprise. Joe, where do you weigh in on this big issue?
Well, I think it's a great topic to talk about because, you know, when we think about it from God's perspective, every person has a purpose and a plan that God's given them. Jeremiah, he said, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. And so when we begin to give babies names, we're starting to talk about the purpose that this baby had, because no person's a mistake, and every person has a purpose and a plan that God has given them. And so when we talk about it from that perspective, I think it just brings it even to a greater thing, because everybody realizes that nobody's a mistake, that God has planned each and every one of us and has a direction for our lives.
Okay, it's going to have to be a one-word answer from both of you. Yes or no, baby name before or after?
Agnostic, up to the mom, but I always want to know if it's a boy or a girl.
Joe?
We did it. If you don't also connect that their dignity comes from Christ,
Yes.
then you've missed the boat.
Oh,
right?
I love that.
Joe's right, but you got to take it one step further. Naming them doesn't do it. It comes from being made in the image of God.
Yes.
Well, let's thank our Morning Light panel for a little encouragement and hope on a rainy day this morning. Coming up next on Morning Light, providing a safe place to meet a child's spiritual, educational, medical, and nutritional needs, how VivaKids walks alongside organizations in the developing world to share the gospel. And good morning, Hershey and Derry Presbyterian Church. You're watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV.
VivaKids is making a difference in the lives of children and communities in the Dominican Republic. And joining me right now is Executive Director Bill Myers. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't you talk to us about the mission of VivaKids?
Sure, absolutely. So the mission of VivaKids is, it's an organization that comes alongside ministries that are already at work in the developing world, trying to break the cycle of poverty. And they do that through education, nutrition, tending to their physical needs, all under the gospel of Jesus Christ. So in summary, our mission is really to raise awareness that leads to action.
So talk to us about some of the core values.
Sure. One of the biggest things for us is that we just seek to come alongside, not run over. So we're working with organizations that are from the communities in which they're working. So they know the culture, they know the language, they know the needs better than anyone. So it's not our place to come in and tell them how to do the ministry God's called them to. We feel that we've been called to try to generate resources for them, because that's the biggest struggle that they have, is raising the money to do what God's called them to do. So that would probably be one of our key core values, and then to do everything with excellence and a laser focus. We're trying to do as much as we can for the center that we've been called to, as opposed to doing a little bit for many more.
When you say walk alongside, give us some examples of the things that you are doing.
Sure. So there's a school in the Dominican Republic called the CIMIV school. It's in a barrio called Punta de Garza, and they are working with kids in kindergarten through senior high, through 6th grade at the center itself, but then through a local high school they have a partnership. So they are doing all of that work and trying to feed these kids 2 meals a day, get them to a doctor to make sure that they're well, and also provide them with an education and then additional education that will help them find work in the tourist industry or other areas that will help them with a career.
So how did God lead you to this type of work?
Yeah, it's I laugh because I never would have saw us being involved in this place so far away. When there's so much need in our backyard, I used to feel that was the most important thing. But the reality is, wherever God called you, it's just important that you go. So we went on a mission trip in 2006 to the center, and God really broke our heart for what was breaking His. And we were involved with that school for a number of years before finding this opportunity to work with VivaKids to just have an easier way to connect resources to the center.
Wow, what type of difference are you seeing made there at this place?
Sure. Well, initially, Dr. Nerio Mercedes, who started this school, he walked through the community and he was just absolutely heartbroken by the malnutrition he saw, just kids in the middle of the school day running around unattended. So he was led to start the school in this place, and that was in 1996. In 2006, we went for the first time. And then 10 years later, people that went on that first trip with us had an opportunity to go back, and they were just amazed at the improvement in the kids' health, in just their demeanor, their desire to do more, and most importantly, their understanding that they have value in Christ, and it's not in their circumstances. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Certainly, thank you for what you're doing, and I'm going to have you stick around because we're going to talk with you in the next segment. But if you would like more information about VivaKids, you can check out vivakids.org. And coming up next on Morning Light, an experience of a lifetime. You can go and see firsthand the good work VivaKids is doing in the lives of children in the Dominican Republic. We will share details on how you can serve next. And good morning, Reading and Grace Bible Fellowship Church. Thank you for watching Morning Light. Welcome back. You heard the mission of VivaKids, but you can put your faith into action by going and seeing the work being done in the Dominican Republic. Joining me now is Josh Bender, who has taken a mission trip there, and also Bill Myers is back with us. So Josh, why don't you talk to us about the mission trip there to the Dominican Republic?
Yeah, the mission trips always have a lot going on, and it's busy, but it's a lot of fun. It's a mix of obviously, you get there, you unpack, you get a little bit comfortable, but then it's usually preparing for the week ahead, which involves like a vacation Bible study kind of atmosphere where every day we get to do some skits or get to do some different verses. Like when one of the trips I went on, for instance, we did Fruits of the Spirit. So usually there's some puppets or skits, and we just get to interact with the kids. You get to play on the playground. You just get to experience and really just get a heart for what the Mercedes family is doing at that school every day of the week, 24/7. And just to get a heart of how they get to hear about Jesus and get to experience him in that school and in the community, and just to see the work that they're doing there.
So when you were there, what did you experience? What type of feedback were you getting?
It was my first and only overseas mission trip at the time. My wife and I were wanting to go on a mission trip, didn't really know what that looked like. So I also would really just encourage, like, if you're kind of in that boat where you're wrestling on wanting to do something or doing a mission trip overseas, to definitely feel free to reach out to VivaKids through the website or through Bill. Because it's a great entry-level trip into overseas missions. Originally, we had also done, VivaKids has child sponsorship, and I had sponsored a child through a different organization, but didn't even know if I was going to be able to go see that child. I could pay all that money and not even necessarily see that, where as Bill had mentioned in the first segment, VivaKids, you really get to go and see and experience and build relationships with people that are doing the ministry all the time there, but also having the relationship with the children there. So really it was getting to see and build those relationships in community.
And just the smiles on the kids' faces. I mean, how did that touch you?
Oh, it melts you. Like, it's, usually it seems like whenever the child sponsorship happens, you get to build that amazing friendship and see that smiles and the joy that is coming really through what Jesus is doing there. And then the hard part really of the trip is at the end of the week, if you want to sponsor children, making the decision, because you form so many amazing friendships and relationships with these kids.
And Bill, talk to me about the other different opportunities. So he's talking about one type of mission trip, but there's another kind that you can take as well. Explain that.
Yeah, sure. The mission trip itself is full immersion. So you're staying at the school, and there's a level of intensity to it. But for families that maybe you have some older members or you have young kids, we have something called a vacation with a purpose. So that is where you stay off site. It is a mix of vacation and also mission. You get to go and tour the centers. You get to go and meet the kids. We do a work project of some kind, but still then returning to the resort environment. And it's just given us an opportunity to get many more people to the centers and see what the work that God's doing there.
And what type of response are you receiving from people?
So the greatest thing, and I tell people this all the time, when you go on one of these trips, be prepared for what God's going to do in your heart, more than what you're going to be able to contribute. So, that we're getting all kinds of feedback from people that go and see that their hearts are being broken for what they're seeing, and they want to come back and help through our golf outing and 5K fundraisers, and by sponsoring a child as well.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing the pictures, and you are making such a difference. And why would you encourage people to do this? Because we do hear about all different kinds of trips, mission trips you can take. What makes this one so special?
I would say
You both can say something.
Yeah.
It really, just to reiterate kind of what we already, you literally get to serve. There's also like not a lot of pressure because it's not about what we would go down and do. There's nothing we can do. It's about what Christ is already doing through the Mercedes family there. I feel like sometimes leading in, I know when I was debating going on a mission trip, there's this stigma that you feel like you need to do something, or that are you capable of doing? I'm not blessed with. I have office hands. I'm not going to be able to go build some nice building or do certain things. That's not what the VivaKids trips are about. It's really just being able to go serve and come alongside of the amazing ministry that Christ is pouring into these children through the teachers, the staff, the Mercedes family each and every day. And so that's the coolest part, is just to know that that's happening beyond what we see in the United States.
Just to show these kids they have value, the love on them. And that's what is really unique about our trips. But I would say the important thing is, if you feel you're being called to any kind of short-term mission trip, go. We'd love for it to be with us, but you will be amazed at how much God will do through your heart when you step outside your comfort zone and do one of those short-term trips anywhere in the world that God's calling you.
That's right. I mean, you're doing so much for them, but in the end, you're really, it's making you're getting so much from it, and you are spreading the gospel of God. And that is the thing. Do you find that hearts are being changed when you're there?
Absolutely, on both sides, really. Josh,
Yeah.
what happened to your heart?
At the end of our trip, we prepare to come home the next day. So we do, even on the trip I'm describing, we do go to the hotel the last night. My wife did not want to go on our first trip. She said, "How can I see what these kids experience and the poverty levels, and then go stay at a hotel?" There was somebody in the community had asked her for her shoes, and her heart absolutely melted. And she actually was torn because she didn't give her shoes. And so from that point forward, our heart was already broken on that trip, and then you come back, and what VivaKids really is just pouring in resources, even when we're here, to let that ministry go when we're not able to go down there and serve, because it's a good ministry by itself, and I think that's the beauty of it. Is it's just like going, seeing, pouring resources, allowing Christ to continue to work through that ministry down there.
Oh, that is wonderful. If our viewers would like to find out more information, where should they go if they say, this is something I want to do?
You can go to vivakids.org, our website. There's always information about the trips, and there's also links to reach out to us if they want to have questions. We're more than happy to sit with people and really talk about what they'll experience, what all's involved in the trip, and make sure they feel comfortable joining us. But the website's the place to start.
Okay. And prayers. What type
Always.
of prayer requests would you say?
Wow, there's so many. It's hard to know where to begin. But that people's hearts would be changed when they go and they see this place. That the school and all the people working there would have the strength to continue that important work, and that these kids would understand that their value and their identity is in Christ, not their environment.
Great. Thank you both for being here and sharing this, and we are praying for you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
And once again, if you are interested in taking a missions trip to the Dominican Republic, check out vivakids.org. Stay with us. We are back right after the break. Welcome back. Good morning, Columbia. Thank you for watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV. And coming up tomorrow on Morning Light, introducing young people to Christ. Since 1992, Crossfire Youth Ministries has been reaching out to hurting youth and their families in 2 communities. We will talk to the executive director, and we will also meet a couple who has been impacted by this ministry. And that's a look at what's coming up tomorrow on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts.
Deborah, I think people are so amazed at how many things are happening across Pennsylvania with people doing God's work in His way.
Certainly.
Well, yesterday afternoon, I was on the phone with a friend from London, someone who I think has the gift of encouragement. I asked him what he was feeling called to do in the next season of life. What did he think he might do next? He told me he really doesn't see things that way, that as a follower of Jesus, he isn't called to any particular job, but to a relationship, get this, with Jesus himself. So he reminds me in the course of our phone call of a beautiful picture of Mary and Martha. If you've never read it, Google it, it'll take you right there. And they're hanging out with Jesus. One is busy doing, and the other is just busy being, listening, learning, talking in a conversation with Jesus. Maybe the biggest message this Christmas is that Jesus didn't come to earth to hand out jobs and assignments, to-do lists. There's another figure at Christmas that hands out to-do lists, right? Not Jesus, but to invite us into a friendship, into a personal relationship, into a conversation. Look, Christmas can be really exhausting. Maybe you're already there, maybe you've been there for a few days, but the one we're celebrating promised total and complete rest. So this Christmas, let's breathe a little. Let's take him up on that offer of rest. I needed that reminder from my friend, and maybe this morning you did too. For Debra and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check on your neighbors, and God willing, we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning.